service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One doesn't need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder, or a sannyasi, or a brahmachari, in any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Okay, let's discuss. It's okay, Mataji. Thank you so much. One of the things which we are going to discuss today, just touch upon, was Raganuga, was spontaneous service. Quite often, during the day, especially if you live in an ashram, time to time you get certain service from senior devotees, or in your case, especially if you work outside the temple, you come to the temple in order to relax, enjoy, to have some relief, to have some nice association and recharge after a difficult day. And then all of a sudden somebody asks you for a service. And time to time it's so difficult to find this inspiration to do this service. But as much you surrender, that much Krishna reciprocates. And even such a small thing, when it comes up, it's very nice that somebody is ready to improvise and actually get him into the service. But anyway, once again, chapter 9, text 14. Anybody remembers a little bit of English translation of this verse? Just any of this?
It's a little bit which says that if you are really a Mahatma, if you want to be a Mahatma, you need to follow the rules and regulations according to your land, like your guru, and you need to surrender yourself to Krishna, try to follow as much as possible, so ultimately your desire will be fulfilled one day to reach Krishna.
Wonderful.
And you also need to do your fasting, which is like 11th day of the week. So.
What I like about Bhagavad Gita, that what us, human beings, can say in many words, Bhagavad Gita always encapsulates in very short and profound phrases. So once again, we'll go through the verse and then we'll come back to your comment. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. What is interesting that you said about rules and regulations that can actually lead a person to the state of Mahatma. But has any of you ever asked yourself, why do we need these rules and regulations? How do you explain it to yourself? Why don't you give yourself a chance just to enjoy, as seemingly all others people do outside? Anybody? Rules and regulations? It's such an austerity to some extent, but yes.
I believe that the rules and regulations, if you follow, first thing is the more you get detached from the material life, the more you have less anxiety in life. You don't have pain, because you start learning to do work for Krishna's pleasure than to yourself. So you're not worried about whether you're going to get any fruit out of it or whether it's going to be successful.
Okay. So, any other reasons why we should follow rules and regulations?
Self-control.
Self-control. Perfect. Okay, just let's come back for a second to the scriptures and to the path we follow. First of all, it's Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti means love and devotion, yoga, to link, to connect. So the actual path and the very essence of what we're doing, by trying to cultivate love and devotion, and by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we're aiming to link with Krishna, isn't it? Therefore, we need to understand how this process works. And if we want to understand how the process works, then we will get the answer why rules and regulations are needed. The first stage of Bhakti Yoga is Vaidhi Bhakti. The word Vidi, Sanskrit, this is the origin of Vaidhi. What does it mean?
Process.
Basically, it's regulations. So Vaidhi Bhakti is the very essence, the fundament of Bhakti. Quite often when we come to the temple, we overfilled with emotions. We're sincerely happy to see the deities, we're sincerely happy to see familiar faces, smells, and we instantly merge into this completely different realm, what we like to say transcendental oasis in the middle of London, isn't it? But at the same time, this is, let's call it, emotional side, something that instantly catches us, but doesn't have a fundament, the basis, because once we get out of the temple, we have completely different atmosphere, and what can actually keeps us strong, what can actually help us to progress, to make progress on the path of Bhakti, are the rules and regulations. So once again, Vaidhi Bhakti, the first stage and the very essence of how we can develop love to God. Another important issue, what is actually Krishna Prema and where can we actually get it as the final stage we're looking for of developing these loving relationships with God? Let's just any options, any variations where we can get Krishna Prema from. Is it something that we have inside, or it's something external that can be got from? Whatever you like. What do you think?
I believe it's from inside more than external.
So Mataji, what's your name?
Mala.
Bala.
Mala.
Mala. Mala, that's wonderful that you're so active. We'll try to see if other Prabhus and Matajis can get involved as well. Sorry, Prabhu, is Krishna Prema initially with us, or it's something to be...
something dramatic inside everybody.
Thank you so much. Any other options? Does anybody think it's something that not with us from birth and something that can be obtained during the life? In fact, Prabhupada says pretty much what you just said. He gives a wonderful comparison. He says, just like a child, when he just got to birth, just by default, he already has this information that one day he will walk. And throughout those months of his life, he's already there. Every time he tries to do something, actually to lift himself up to the moment when gradually his muscles get strengthened, and up to the moment when he can walk. In the same way, however difficult it is, however impossible at first it seems to be, because we are completely untrained, our consciousness is full of, well, let's say dirt, or what Vaishnavas say, full of anarthas. It's quite difficult to find bhakti there. It's quite difficult to find prema there, but it's actually there. However, or I would say, then we get the very, yes, please come in. And then we can come back to this verse and understand why this process is so essential and why these particular rules and regulations prescribed can be helpful in our lives. So in this verse, Krishna himself says, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Krishna doesn't make a secret of how we can obtain him. He is completely sincere and willing to help us out of his unconditional love. Quite often we say that Bhagavad Gita is just like an instruction. Whenever you buy a device, what is there in the box? Instruction. In the same way, when the universe was created, Vedas came along with them. So from this instruction, from Bhagavad Gita, we get not only understanding of the final goal, but also the very profound explanation how we can practice and come to this goal at the end of our life. And what actually happened when we chant Krishna's names, when we endeavor with great determination, the process of purification starts. Another example that Srila Prabhupada gives is actually a lamp which is covered with dirt. The light is there. You switch on electricity and you feel some... Madhujis, if you don't mind, can you sit on the left side, please? Thank you so much. The love is there, the light is there. However, what we need to practice, we need to purify. Therefore, we start following these principles. We start trying to develop our bhakti by purifying our consciousness. The second stage, which we can come to, is called Raganuga. And Raganuga is nothing else. I will put it in a different way. I'm Russian, so sometimes I have to put it in that way that English-speaking person will also understand it. Raganuga is spontaneous devotion. But we shouldn't be, I don't want to say puffed up, but we shouldn't take it cheaply. Raganuga is one of those high stages of bhakti which Mahatmas have. However, in our case, we can't just step into this highly emotional state of being without having the essence, without having a heart which can actually give Krishna a chance to come and see what Sachkishore Prabhu another day was saying. We should act in such a way that we shouldn't try to see the Krishna, rather than we should act in such a way that Krishna would like to come into our hearts. He is already there, but in order to give him a chance to light and to guide us, we need to purify ourselves. And that's, once again, all the principles and regulations are there. So let's try to understand what else, apart from rules and regulations, can be helpful in our everyday sadhana. What are those processes, what are those means by which we can purify ourselves in Bhakti Yoga? That's a question to everybody, and we can name 5 of them. It's quite, I'm sure you know. Yes, please.
To chant Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. The most profound, the most essential, and the most is chanting Hare Krishna. Another 4? Yes, please.
Count the beats.
Count the beats?
Yeah.
I would take it as a technical part of actually doing the chanting. What's your name, sorry, Prabhu? Market.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. What are other 4 means by which we can follow the path of bhakti? Prabhu, we do it every day. Association with devotees. Amazing. That's pretty much what we're doing at the moment as well. But apart from associating, what are we doing? It's Shravana, hearing these scriptures. And these 3, the first one, the topmost one, is chanting the glories of the holy names. The second one and the third one is associating with devotees and hearing the Bhagavatam. And so much can be said about them, we will definitely come back. But what is the 4th and the 5th? The most amazing that just by sitting in this room, we're already surrounded, we're more or less completely absorbed in this atmosphere, at least externally. That's why we need the temple so much. Sometimes we can't find bhakti within us, but when we come into the temple, when we see all these pictures, when we see all the holy names, something starts within us. We sometimes can't describe it, but it's already there. However, we always should remember about certain processes which we have to undergo in order to develop bhakti. So what are the 4th and the 5th principles or means which we have to practice on a daily basis?
Rendering devotional service and revealing your mind to the devotee and the Lord.
Okay, this one from Srila Rupa Goswami as one of the way how to exchange love. But I would say it's one of those aspects which we imply when we say associating with devotees. Because if you want to associate with devotees nicely, you actually treat them as Prabhu, you try to open up your mind to reveal whatever you have there in order to, as as well. Purify yourself. What do we see on the left side and on the right side of you? What are we actually doing every morning, every day, every evening? Worshipping the deities. And this is the fourth mean how we purify ourselves. The fifth one is quite unique, I would say. The fifth one is residing in the holy Dham. Residing in the holy Dham, such as Vrindavan, Mayapur. Anybody has been to Vrindavan, Mayapur? What's your name, Mataji? Sorry. Ishwar Priya, that's Hare Krishna. Mataji, say, can you please tell us, why do you think it's important to reside in the holy Dham? What you actually can get there? Why it's beneficial for practice?
Well, basically, there's a different atmosphere over there. Just, because it's a holy ground. You come in there, you feel the spirit.
Okay, so according to our body, according to our karma, according to our goal in this life, we sometimes either more fortunate to get a birth in the holy Dham, which is extremely rare and so difficult to obtain, or to have a chance to get a birth, say, in London, or in my case, in Moscow, or Prabhu, where are you from? What state of India?
India?
Yes. And what state of India?
Gujarat.
In Gujarat. But eventually, Krishna never says that Bhagavad Gita is only for Hindu, is only for Russian, British, Italian, whatever. It doesn't say that if you was born in this particular place, you can get elevated, you can develop bhakti, and you can come back to me. No. Bhagavad Gita is the instruction that is applicable to each and everyone. How? By which means we've just gone through them. But let's just try and discuss a little bit in depth how these 5 principles can help us on this process and why it's important. Why? I mean, all this Jayanta Prabhu in the morning was saying this wonderful example. In Nepal, in eastern countries, quite often, in order to make the, what's the name of this funny animal which has so much on his back, and then he kind of carries from one city to another?
Yak?
Yak, or yeah, something like that. I believe yak doesn't eat the carrot, but the whole idea is donkey. What? The whole atmosphere in the holy Dham, or even in this temple, and all the relationships, and everything what we are trying to achieve. Shri Radhalanda Nishwara ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Shri Maharaj ki, Shri Gornitai ki, Shri Tulsi Devi ki. Okay, so once again, let's come back to the point. Why do we actually do these processes? Why do we have to undergo and limit ourselves in so many ways? Why don't we go to the cinema, spend money whimsically? Why don't we try to enjoy our lives? Why something at that particular Friday night has brought us into the temple? What's the actual goal? What we're looking for? Anybody? Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, what's that? Yam yam vabhismaram bhavam rajantyante kalevaram tam tamevati kontaya sadatat bhavaparitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Therefore, what Krishna suggests as one of the options how we can end up our lives and what we can achieve in life is actually take the same type of body that Krishna has in order to reside not even in a holy Dham, but to reside with Krishna himself, to associate with him, to be one of his most intimate associates. And in other verse, almost there, Antakali chamamava smaran mukha kalevaram tam tamaveti kontaya sadatat pavapavitaham. And he said, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. This is the key. This is what we're looking for. Eventually, everybody dies. Anybody of you not going to die? Sorry for this question. I mean, it's a little bit tricky. I'm seemingly younger, but there is one Tibetan wisdom. You never know what comes next day or next life. And that's pretty much about all of us. We never know what's going to happen. Even residing in the temple, there is no guarantee at all that any kind of disease or calamity might not happen to me. In Russia, we usually do like that. It should not. We have this strong faith in Krishna. We believe that we have our 50, 60, 100, 108 years. But it might not happen. And what would happen if we are not purified yet and the actual moment of death comes? I don't remember what's the name of this Maharaj, whether that was Dhruva Maharaj. He got the birth as a Nikita, Alain, as a deer. He was such an elevated soul.
Jalavar.
Jala.
Bharat Maharaj. He rebirth as a deer?
If it's the same one, but yeah. But this is the point. Let's try to understand. If at that particular moment we're not thinking of Krishna, if on that particular moment we're not thinking of, we're not hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which is non-different to Krishna, what's the actual chance? What's the actual likelihood that at the moment of severe pain or unexpected accident, we will remember him? Isn't it? The chance is quite low. Therefore, the whole idea of why we're practicing, say, chanting the mantra, chanting the holy names, in order to be situated within Krishna and having Krishna within the heart, so that when the moment comes, we're ready. Because eventually the goal of life is not to enjoy this miserable conditioned life, rather than to get to our eternal state, which is Sat, Chit, Ananda, eternal happiness and bliss, eternal knowledge and bliss. And that's what we're craving for. I believe it's chapter 8 where Krishna again says, always chanting, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanushmara Yudhya Shecha Maya Arpita Manavudil Mamavashishi Asamshaya. He says to Arjuna, therefore you should always think of me and at the same time carry out the prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and attention fixed on me, you will attain it without fail. The thing is that each of you is not different really from Arjuna, in a way that you every day undergo a severe battle. Any of you is not familiar with that? Anybody lives happily and doesn't have to perform any austerity, to put any effort to survive? Just because we have this body, we need to feed it, we need to sleep, we need to go to, we need to take care of it, isn't it? Just merely to survive, we have to undergo so many penances. What to say about so-called happy living? And Krishna says there is no need for that. The only reason why you came back here, or you got here, because you was willing to forget. You was willing to dominate. You was willing to be the, not the supreme, but to lord the material nature. That's why you came back. And he suggests a very simple, very joyful process of bringing yourself in the subordinate position, understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are His eternal servitors. But how can we do it if we go out of the temple and what happens with us? We can't. Even if we sincerely want to carry Krishna within our heart, what happens that almost instantly our attention goes away. Attention goes, energy flows. where attention goes, the energy goes in the same place. And we're right in the middle of this hellish Shudra society, which is completely obsessed with sex, with temptation, with all kinds of foodstuffs, trying to bring you away, back from Krishna. At that particular moment, sitting in the temple, you was completely sure that Krishna himself advised you and prescribed certain duties, how you can remember him. But what happens when you go outside? What happens with Arjuna? He had to face so many obstacles, so many tendencies, which was, in fact, his way of purifying himself. All the obstacles we have, and all the, just quite often, we might lament about the conditions we live in, but it's probably not the best thing to do, rather than to try and use all these conditions as a wonderful tool, as an instrument, how we can develop our bhakti, how we can actually try and follow this process. How can we do it? Once again, Krishna says, always chant my names. When we come outside the temple, we finish our 16 rounds, we say, oh, okay, I'm done for today. Now I'm okay, isn't it? Does it happen to any of you time to time? Anybody chants rounds? Anybody chanting Mahamantra? Does it happen to you that you finish your rounds and then you feel like you've done? Now, Krishna, you got what you expected me to do, now it's your turn? Doesn't happen time to time. And we're kind of, we are quite proud of ourselves. We did our sadhana, we followed prescribed duties, and now we're ready to go to life again. But that's the point. Maya is so skillful, Maya is so tricky, Maya has so many agents that whenever you give her a chance, whenever you lose the concentration, whenever you lose Krishna on your tongue, whenever you lose Krishna in your ear, it instantly attacks you. Who is the superintendent of material energy?
Krishna.
Huh?
Krishna is the.
Not really. Usually, no, I mean, to a certain extent, Jogamaya is the external energy of Krishna. But who is the superintendent of the material energy? How Krishna manages to control everything without being engaged in this activity? By his superintendents, demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Durga as well. Has anybody seen Durga? She's sitting on a tiger. She has 10 hands. She has 10 exclusive, nice tools how to kill. And that's how Maya works. She needs just a very tiny moment to take your attention, and instantly you're there. If you're not focused on the chanting, then the whole process gets ruined. Your senses, which are not developed yet, which are not trained yet, they can't resist, and they instantly follow. The mind instantly follows the senses. Senses are attracted by the objects. Mind follows the senses, and you're lost. You're there. You're associated with all these nice pictures. Have you ever, by trying to be not only Krishna conscious, Prabhupada usually says, at first be conscious, then become Krishna conscious. Has you ever tried to trace how your attention goes when you enter the supermarket, any mall, any tube station? Whenever you come, the very first place your sight falls on, be sure, there is an advertisement. The next one goes a little bit up. It's there. You go down the stairs and the first thing you see, huge billboard. It's everywhere. This external energy is so potent that it's literally impossible. Scriptures say it's very difficult to overcome material energy. And if scriptures say that it's very difficult, then in our case it's almost impossible. But Krishna says, you can do it. It's possible by following this process, by chanting my names. And that's why bhakti is so unique, because quite often, I used to do hatha yoga quite a lot. I mean, I still do it, but as on a different basis. You start to think that all these mystical powers or all kinds of things may help you in the long run. But in fact, you spend 1-2 hours doing the practice, and then the whole day is still there. You need somehow to keep awareness of who you are, to be self-realized, to be to understanding that you're Jiva, that you're the soul, to somehow remember about Krishna and never forget about him. Now, if you do some bodily asanas, as if I do, but if I go on tube, any kind of asana, any kind of flow within my body will not help me to bear Krishna in mind. And he gives the most, I'm not sure I know this word, because the mantra itself, it's so potent and it's so well designed. You don't really need anything. Just, even with your eyes closed, even if you don't have anything, just a little bit of consciousness and life within yourself, then it's enough to follow the process of bhakti, which means it's for everyone. Which means that each of us, just by chanting the mantra, just by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, can train our mind, can train our senses, can train and also develop our spiritual body on a day-to-day basis, and even further, deeper, each single moment of our lives. And then, if every day we practice by chanting mantra not only on the beats, but also mentally, and also within our heart, in everyday life, trying to kind of play this game with mind. We know how powerful, we know how magnanimous it is, we know how skillful it is. However, we have our own weapon, we have our own shield. And if we recite the mantra, subconsciously or consciously, it's there, it's enough. It's enough to be protected. Krishna and his name, Krishna is not different to his name. That's why it's so powerful. If you have Krishna within your mind, if you have Krishna within your heart, then you're protected. Then you seemingly attracted by all these billboards. They are still there, but they don't have that much of a power, because you're situated within the holy name. And it gives you so much confidence that actually everything is fine and I'm complete. The only reason why these Maya hooks might work if we feel ourselves incomplete. Is there anybody who feels himself complete? Is there anybody who feels himself incomplete? And the only reason why we get caught by all these Maya hooks is because we feel incomplete. And they know for sure, psychologically, philosophically, sociologically, economically, they know everything about us, apart from one thing. They don't know what to do with Krishna. It's impossible, because he's spoken. He's the one who actually created everything. Via Lord Brahma, he gave a chance to experience all this. And nobody can take you away if Krishna is there, because there is nothing more powerful than Krishna himself. In a different verse in Bhagavad Gita, he says, I don't know the exact verse, first senses, then the mind, then intelligence, then spirit soul, isn't it? Therefore, all these layers of Maya, all these strongest attractions, they act on our lowest nature. But they know exactly how it works. That's why we can't resist. We have this gross body, it's so tangible, it's so hungry and thirsty and desperate for all kinds of sensations. And they know it, so they use it. While if buddhi or if intelligence is not developed, if your spiritual body is not developed, there is nothing to put on the other side of the scales to resist mind. Therefore, if we have so much here, it's so easy to get us away, because the second part of the scales is too light. We have not yet developed it. But once again, by following this process, by chanting, by associating with devotees, by hearing the Bhagavatam, by worshiping deities, what do? We actually add the weight to the spiritual body, isn't it? We develop the spiritual body, we develop our buddhi, and next time, when any kind of situation comes, you just go outside the temple and you see, what is there, left side, sex shop, harmony. right side, any kind of thirsty, tasty bottles, all kind of stuff. But still, you have these two things you can rely on. On the first part, it's already there. Senses are there, body which is willing to get this taste, to get this sensation, to enjoy, and buddhi, and your spiritual body. And if mantra is there, if you're still reciting the mantra on your way back home, then you're actually protected. Because even if for a second you're just about to take your wallet and pay some money, if you say Hare Krishna, then the spiritual body starts to pull you back. The spiritual body, the buddhi, the intelligence starts to pull you back. It actually asks you whether you're doing the right thing at the moment. And then when you question it, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, as ever, Prabhupada said, go to the sex shop or go and buy some battle. I'm sorry for these extreme examples. It can be something very easy. It can be new shoes or jeans or just whatever. But we should understand that it's kind of like infection. If we give a little bit of ourselves, then we get contaminated. And then just like molecules of the water, they associate within us as well, and they give this information from one cell to another. In the same way, if we just chant the holy name, then the whole body, gross body as well, it just fundamentally not only gets purified, but also gets elevated. So that eventually, there would be one day when you go out of the temple, and these things doesn't work that much. Why? Because your spiritual body, because your buddhi become even more weighty than your cross body. And that's quite difficult to understand, because Krishna says that earth, water, fire, wind, ether, 5 gross elements, and mind, intelligence, and false ego, thin elements. It's quite difficult to understand how all these thin elements eventually can overcome. But that's what happens, because the power of the holy name itself is stronger than all these things, because the one single name, Krishna, already has all the mercy, just that we don't have the taste. We don't yet have the access to the name. But once again, how can we get the access? How can we make a key? It's just like, imagine it's like a painter. He intuitively feels that there should be a key, but he needs some brushes, he needs some paints, just to make it tangible, to make it prominent. In the same way, we need these tools, we need this process in order to make a key and to enter the holy name. And then, when the mercy unfolds, we're complete. The moment we're complete, what else in the world can take our attention away? Nothing, because we're complete. And if we're complete within the holy name, if we're complete associated with Krishna on our tongue, hearing his name, then it's not only that Maya becomes, I don't want to say useless, it's still there to remember you, to make you, to make you alert. But the main thing, that the goal is likely to be achieved. If you're complete with holy name, you just naturally want to be observed in that state of mind all the time. One of nicest realizations I had not so far ago, I thought, how can I remember about Krishna all the time? How? It's not that the process is there and all the scriptures are there. I just needed to on my own level, somehow understand what I'm looking for, what I'm aspiring for. And it was so easy. When we are in love, has anybody been in love? Has anybody likes to fall in love? Anybody likes to fall in love? Nobody. Depending on the personality. Everybody is looking for this feeling. And when we fall in love, what happens, especially first time, that whatever we do, ironing, cooking, going on the street, doing some project in front of the laptop, whatever, what are we thinking about? About this person. Isn't it? It's so simple, it's so natural. Whenever we love somebody, somehow the person doesn't want to get out of our head. We even try to do that, but it doesn't happen. You see, so the whole thing is seemingly quite simple. We need just to fall in love. And Krishna is there with all his perfections, with all these 6 opulences. But we need to purify ourselves in order to get attracted. Otherwise we get attracted to the lower qualities of material nature. Therefore, by purifying ourselves, by always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. This is the process how to purify and open up the heart, because once it's pure enough, it naturally gets attracted by Krishna. It naturally falls in love. And that's it. We love Krishna. We don't force ourselves. It becomes naturally. And then back to God. Once, how I probably said, back home, back to God within one lifetime. I should probably stop here. We have maybe 3-5 minutes if you have one question, comment, criticism, whatever.
One question. You said about the 5 senses, you were talking about the regulations. Is that way you're talking about like the Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vandanam, that one? Those are 5 that you were talking about.
There are 4 principles we follow.
Yeah.
No illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling. These are basic principles and regulations. And other 5 means how we can purify ourselves and develop bhakti, actually awaken prema within our hearts. So it's very important, because without these principles and regulations, we can't. Any of you do gardening, planting flowers? Isn't it that if the what's the word? Solid, почва, solid.
Soil.
Yeah. If the soil is full of rubbish, if there is too much of wheat, yeah, it's very difficult to for any kind of auspicious and I would say sattvic plant to have a growth. I was just about to say one important thing. But anyway, these principles helps us to prepare the soil, and then we start to nourish it. How do we nourish it? By these 5 means to purify ourselves, mainly chanting, associating with devotees, Shravanam, or hearing the holy scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, worshiping the deities and reciting in the holy Dham. And eventually these processes again helps to purify ourselves and to open up the heart so that we can actually get attracted to Krishna, and then we fall in love. So the whole process on the paper is almost tangible. We should just put a little bit of effort. Prabhupada says we make 1 step towards Krishna, Krishna makes 10 steps. Isn't it a little bit unfair even? It should be our interest to get back to God. But Krishna is so merciful that he appreciates even a little bit of endeavor. You make 1 step, he makes 10. Okay, just one maybe quick last question, if you have any. Then I should probably stop here. Thank you very much for staying with us. Thank you very much for your wonderful nice association. It was such a big pleasure to see your active, nice faces and sparkling eyes. All the best in your spiritual path. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki.